Almost a week after a violent mob ransacked the Capitol with legislators and the vice president inside, the House leadership is preparing impeachment proceedings against President Trump. I spoke with 7th District Democrat Abigail Spanberger about another vote that is just a few minutes away.
Congresswoman, tell us about the vote tonight, what you expect to happen.
So tonight we're going to be voting on a resolution calling upon the Vice President of the United States to invoke the 25th Amendment, recognizing that the president had a significant role in inciting the violence that led to the attack by domestic terrorists, by insurrectionists on the United States Capitol on the 6th. And so we'll be voting on that resolution today, and it is non-binding, but it is our hope to make clear to the vice president and to members of the cabinet that there is significant concern within the United States Congress that the president continues to be unfit for office and continues to not recognize any of his responsibility for inciting the insurrection last week. And notably, his comments even today continue to be concerning, as though he doesn't recognize the ongoing significant threat to the United States Capitol and the upcoming inauguration event.
And should he not be moved by that resolution, then impeachment article would be voted on tomorrow?
That's correct. We will be voting on articles of impeachment tomorrow. Again, I think many colleagues share my opinion. My opinion is that it would be preferable for the president to recognize the role that he has played in this and resign. It would be preferable if many Republicans, and we've been asking for this and having conversations related to this, would call on him to resign, as so many did with Richard Nixon after the Watergate scandal came to light. In the absence of a resignation, in the absence of the 25th Amendment, yes, we'll be voting on articles of impeachment tomorrow.
And what about another bill or legislation that's being worked on by Cori Bush to effectively censure and potentially expel lawmakers who questioned and in the view of the legislation, promoted the fiction that the election was fraudulent? What do you say to that kind of, I guess, retribution is what it seems like, but obviously in these fraught times, maybe it's something more. What's your take on that?
Well, so my take is that I think it's incredibly appropriate that members of the United States Congress should be very clear in our confirmation that the elections across the country in all 50 states, elections that were certified in some cases after significant recount and review by the individual states, that those elections that have been certified the results are correct, that there wasn't wide-scale fraud, as some have alleged, primarily for political gain and for partisan reasons, and that, frankly, we expect that every member of Congress, particularly those who were in fact elected on those same ballots that they seek to discount, do not use their position or their voice as a lawmaker for political gain or political posturing, sow conspiracies and sow doubt within the electoral systems.
Next week is a big week in terms of the inauguration. What's your take on what security will feel like for you, but especially for the people on the dais next Wednesday?
So looking forward to next week for the inauguration. We've been briefed on many of the threat streams that exist, and they are real, and they are significant, and they are deeply concerning. And I say that from the perspective of someone who worked counterterrorism with CIA. I focused on terrorist organizations overseas and the damage that they sought to continue doing overseas, and of course here in the homeland. And so now the fact that there are significant and deeply disturbing threats to the American homeland by domestic terrorists is wildly alarming, horrific. What we'll be seeing is an absolute fortification of Washington, D.C., as we see domestic terrorists and would-be insurgents descending upon the United States Capitol, capitals across the country over the weekend, and intending to stay through inauguration. So it's a challenging it's a challenging time for our country, and the threat is significant and real.
All right. Thank you, Congresswoman Spanberger, for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.